So when you're growing a business and you're working full time, sometimes it can kind of feel like your job is actually taking away from your business. At least that's what it felt like for me. I felt like every time that I was working in my career was actually taking me further and further away from what I truly wanted to build when it comes to my
Mhm.
business. And the truth is because I was looking at it that way, it actually was taking away my time, my energy, causing me to be even more frustrated, and then bringing that energy into my business, which would cause my business to stall. But I want to let you know that there is a different way to reframe your full time job in a way that will actually help you speed up the process in business.
Mhm.
Now, being on the other side of being able to retire when I did the things that we're going to be talking about here today, I actually came to realize that it actually helped me out way more than if I had just started a business and didn't have a full time job. It gave me so many other opportunities, skills, and a bunch of other things that we're going to talk about here today. But you have to be willing to see things differently before you can allow it to actually do this for you. So if you're ready to do that, if you're ready to make your job be your superpower when it comes to growing your business, that's what we're doing today. And if you're ready to do that with us, let's go. It's time to redefine leadership. Welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. Our channel is all about empowering entrepreneurs like you to achieve the next level of success in business and life. We believe that you can create a massive impact in the world without compromising your personal life or family time to do so.
We're committed to providing you with actionable tips and strategies weekly to make that possible. So if you're ready to become a modern leader and make a lasting difference in the world, consider subscribing. Turn on notifications and dive into our community. We want to thank you for being here because the world needs your leadership now more than ever. Let's go.
So let's go. We're going to dive into 8 different ways that your job can become your superpower, meaning you can grow your business faster when you lean into these 8 different things that we're going to really bring to kind of like your awareness that you might think might be holding you back, but in reality, if you didn't have them, they would actually slow down the process of the growth in your business. Now, before we do, we want to welcome everybody back. Hi, how are you
Hi.
doing?
Good.
Fantastic. I just saw you in Vegas. We just got back from Vegas, so we're still trying to
Got a
get the
tan.
junk out of our system.
Tan.
I did get a tan. I don't know if you guys have realized this,
Because
but
you don't wear
100%.
sunscreen.
I don't, because I want
That's
to get tan.
bad.
I'm trying to be like Kurt, where I actually don't look like I'm translucent. So we just got back from Vegas, had a really, really great trip. By the way, if you have young kids, definitely a great place to take them is Vegas. I remember back in the day when I went to Vegas, there was not a lot of things. There was like Circus, and Excalibur, and it was really like,
Yeah.
But this time, went to Cirque du Soleil. We went to Area 15. They have so many different things to actually go there and have some fun with kids. Great place to go. Also, we missed you guys. We definitely missed you. So let's see who's here. We have Gedin. Gedin, what's going on, my friend? And Tina. Anthony, what's up, brother? Hey, I think I saw you like 20 minutes ago, man. Anna's here. Tiffany's here. Hey, Tiffany, I saw you like 20 minutes ago as well. Apparently, we're doing something right if we have some amazing people who are coming back. And then we have some new people inside of the Inner Circle. We have Anita. Anita is a brand new member of the Inner Circle. Welcome to the Inner Circle team. And of course, we want to welcome you. Whether you're here watching us for the first time or you've been a dedicated subscriber, we want to say thank you so much for you showing up, for you taking action, and for you being willing to look at things differently. What we talk about here on Modern Leadership is that we have to be willing to see things from a different perspective. We have to get really good at being able to communicate that perspective. And we also need to know how to like program our brains to find success, not only when it comes to our career and our business, but also when it comes to the family connections and our physical and mental health. And that's what we do here on this channel. Now, today, we're primarily going to be talking about how business can speed up, no, actually reverse, how your career, your job can actually speed up the process in your business. Whether you want to leave your job or you don't want to leave your job, we want to share with you 8 different ways that you can actually use your job to actually speed up this process instead of using it as your kryptonite and slowing you down. Now, here's the thing. The way that we have this structured is we're going to go back and forth and we're going to share these 8 different tips, but we're going to lead with some questions to help you kind of like pull out how these things apply to you as well. So we're going to do a quick explanation of every single one of these points, ask you some questions, and we want to get some feedback as we go in the chat because we want to hear what comes up for you because that might be something that comes up for other people as well. Because here on the channel, we're really focused on asking great questions. And that's what we got for you guys here today. So we are going to get into number 1. Are you ready? Because I think you're up.
Yes, I'm
Let's
ready.
go.
So skill. See, I already,
Yeah.
I'm still tired, guys. So number one is skill development. So we often don't think about how much value there is in some of the skills that we actually develop in our work that can be applied to our business. So when I think about it, Mark spent 20 years in LAPD and he was in a leadership position. So all of that knowledge that he gained from that job, he can bring onto the business. And even as we were growing the business and he was still in LAPD, like that, those were things that he could apply. And it would go back and forth, right? Because there were some skills that he was developing, like life coaching in his the side hustle at the time, and then apply it to his job. So we don't often think about it that way, but we want you guys to reframe your thoughts around skill development in your work and how you can actually apply it in your business. When I was working full time, I was also in kind of a leadership position, but even things like public speaking, I developed more skills and I kind of went above that, not just, doing presentations at work, but I also joined a Toastmasters because of work, because I wanted to get better at public speaking. So that those things that I learned there, I was able to apply it not just in my work, but also here, right? I'm speaking to you right now live because of those skills that I developed. So the first question I want you guys to ask yourselves is, what specific skills have you developed in your current job that could be beneficial for your business? So what specific skills have you developed in your current job that you can actually apply to your business?
I love that. I love that question. And I want you to think, kind of outside the box here too,
Mhm.
because some of you guys like work with numbers inside of your job, right? And how could you doing that actually be a skill that's going to help you in business? For anybody who's never worked with numbers, when you get into business and you realize that this is a numbers game and you have to keep track of all these things, like you're actually at a disadvantage. And if you had just been starting without a job, you'd be way like having to figure this out on your own. But by being a part of that, even if you're somebody who like, I don't know, orders certain supplies for your job, like even being able to do that, manage that stuff actually is a skill that you're going to be able to bring into your business, because that's
Mhm.
something that people would have to learn on their own, but you've
Yeah.
been able to learn that skill. You want to ask the second question now?
Well, in the chat, there's a good point. Getting says that Toastmasters actually paid for,
Yes.
or not Toastmasters, her job paid for Toastmasters. So
Uh-huh.
there are things that your company, your work will pay for
Mhm.
so that you can develop those skills. I mean, even I got a certification in sustainability. And it was very expensive, and even the exams that I took were paid for by my company. But the skills that I developed even within that were something that I brought on to my job too. So that's a
Yeah.
really great point.
Yeah. And we have a second question here when it comes to skill development. The first one being like what Teresa said is like, what kind of skills have you already developed by working your full-time job? I want to see it in the chat. I know you guys are like, you're talking about like Toastmasters and stuff like that. Gideon says she's also in a leadership position and learning all different personalities on the team.
Mhm.
Awesome. Gideon,
Mhm.
you're learning so much around how to communicate with different personalities. So you
Yes.
and I have been talking about this a lot, about like how do you coach men differently than women, and people who are more logic based versus people who are emotional based. That is a huge skill that is actually going to be able to help you in multiple different areas, not just coaching. You're already a powerful coach. It's also going to help you when you come to communicate inside of your full-time job, or actually, communicating with people in around your house, neighbors, things like that, because now you know how to communicate depending on the person. So it's actual skill that you're able to develop and pull and move into different ones.
Okay, so the second question is, how can you leverage your job's training programs to gain new skills that are relevant to your business idea? So we kind of talked about that already.
Yeah.
So how can you actually leverage those job trainings?
Yeah. One of the things that I was doing while I was in LAPD for the last, 2.5 years preparing for a potential exit, is I was asking myself, like, I want to learn these skills to become a better police sergeant, but only if they're in alignment with making me a better business owner.
Mm.
And so what I was doing is I was literally taking classes that they would pay me to take that would help make me a better business owner. And so I would like literally now have a new filter. You guys have heard this when it comes to like how we coach our one-on-one clients around achieving their goals. we don't just have them create a professional goal. We also force them to create a personal goal, whether it's related to family, their health. So now you have a filter of like, okay, does this professional goal or does this action fall in alignment with my professional goal and my personal goal? If so, I say it's a yes. But if not, then we just got to keep looking. It's the same thing here. So for me, I was like, I'm going to use the fact that I actually have access to training here and they're going to pay me to do it to actually make me better in business while also making me better in my career. I didn't want to do it where I'm like, I just want to completely just baseline at work and just not show up the way that I want to. A lot of, for me, integrity is a big issue. So I want to be able to show up better I did want to show up better at my 9 to 5 when I had one. 9 to 5. I don't know how police work as a 9 to 5, but you get what I mean. I wanted to be able to show up better, but I also wanted to make sure that it was something that was going to help me in business as well. So basically you're kind of like feeding two birds with one seed, right? Because I don't like killing birds with one stone. But when you're able to do that, you actually can pull from your current job and realize, oh my God, they're paying me to grow my business, which is crazy when you think about that, because I never used to think about that at all. I used to think it was completely separate, right?
Yes.
So those are the skills development part. All right. So we want to hear from you. What are some of the skills you developed and how you can bring them into your business? So Tiffany says customer service and quality control. Tiffany, that is so important when it comes to your business. You now are prepared to, when you are, creating this massive business, you're not going to be focused just on making more money. You're going to be thinking about like, how do I really, yes, make money, but at the same time, make sure my quality is like off the charts, right? Because now you're going to have the bias of making sure that that is something that you focus on, right? And you wouldn't have had that if you hadn't worked that full-time job. Do you guys realize that? If you hadn't worked that job that maybe you hate or that you dislike or that people are there you don't like, you would not have the skills that you're actually able to use in your business. You'd have to start over and go through some type of training program to learn them. Instead, they're now a part of you. You don't even have to think about it. And so now it's a speed boost to any kind of business that you have to grow, right?
Yes.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning. And good morning, Laura. Let's see. Tina says small business admin, all aspects of running a business. Tina, that is awesome. Being able to have all that behind the scenes view before you actually have a huge business yourself. You're able to like know all those intricacies. I love that. Gideon says time management training also paid for 100%. And Gideon, you have us too. We are your time management training too, and your boundary setting, right? But remember that anything that you're able to do from your work or from your 9 to 5 job is something that you can bring over to your business, and vice versa, right? Which is also another reason why some people do get life and performance coaching paid by their job because they actually realize that it makes them better at work. But yes, it also makes you better in business too. So it's one of those things where you can 100% use it in both respects, right? So that was number one. Now we spent a little bit more time on that. We're going to go through the rest really, really much faster because we'll be here all day. However, every single one of these that we're going to talk about today is another opportunity for you to lean into. And when we get to the end, I want to hear which one of these you're going to lean into the most this next week. All right. Because even thinking about this, going into work in your 9 to 5, the energy that you'll have going, oh, I have the opportunity of developing a skill today that's going to actually be used in my business will give you a different feel while you're at work. Tiffany says on integrity, establishing contracts and LLC before taking clients, them not knowing the difference between starting feels dishonest. 100%. So like it has all to do with like how you feel, like how it makes you feel when you're showing up that way, right? When you're leading with like, I want to make sure everybody does have all the details up front. It's kind of like what we were talking about today in the life coach certification, is just being okay with communicating that and saying, this is what I have. This is the opportunity that I have. These are some things that you may not know about, but I want to bring you aware of it. It also helps build a lot of trust because you're willing to tell people those things, as opposed to just kind of like being very vague about it and then having them figure it out on their own. So 100%. Yeah. And then Michael says project management. Yes, 100%. Being able to manage your project helps you manage your business, helps you manage your life too, right? So really thinking about some of those skills and how you can bring them to your personal or to your business as well. All right. Number 2 is networking opportunities. Networking opportunities. So there's a lot of opportunities that we have in work that gives us the opportunity to talk with certain people that we would not be able to talk to if we were not in that specific role, right? For me, example, being able to be in my police role, I was a sergeant. I was able to communicate with lieutenants, captains, commanders, people who are way above me, people who were really, really powerful leaders. And it gave me the opportunity of connecting with them so that when I went into my business full time, I can now still keep contact with those people. And by the way, while I leave, they continue to climb up the chain of command, which means It's going to give me different opportunities in the future to be able to network with them and to bring in some of my teaching and training. I already have somebody, her name is Rana Parker. She is she works for BSS, which is Behavioral Science Services. She's the nutritionist for LAPD. I still do we'll reach out to her and we'll figure out trainings and stuff that I can give to people inside of there. And so it's a great opportunity to be able to network with people. Yes, network with people who are like leaders in there, but also network with people because you're having conversations with people. You're just getting to know them, right? And you're using it as a tool to be able to say, I can actually practice some of this stuff here, right? I actually have access to more people who I have a certain level of influence that I can help in here, as opposed to just saying, oh, I can't, I've just got to keep my eyes, my blinders on and not bring anything that I have to my work here. I used to always ask myself, how can I actually bring my life coaching here so I can show them, but also so I can practice more, right?
Mhm.
It gave me the ability of networking. So here's a couple questions that you can ask yourself if networking is going to be your focus. Number one is who in your professional network could provide valuable advice or resources for your business? So who in your professional network could provide valuable advice or resources for your business? How can you use your job to build relationships with potential mentors or partners? So how could you use your job to build relationships with potential mentors or partners? Have you ever thought about that? You ever thought about the opportunities that you have in your business right now where they might need some help of yours, whether you continue to work there or you don't continue to work there, and how you could build those in right now? People have created so many businesses that way. They get inside, they realize there's a problem they can help people solve. They put something together and then they exit that company. And yet now they're the business that serves that company, right?
Mhm.
They're like, man, this thing sucked all the time. And if I can create something even better than that, when I bring it here, they're going to want to pay me a lot of money. And you don't realize it, but you create a business out of the problems that they're actually going through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you have to keep an open mind, right?
100%. Otherwise, if you're going in there not thinking about this, you lose that opportunity. And number three, the third question is, oftentimes the people who would hire me and the people who work closest to me are the people that I don't even think about asking. Who comes up for you when I say that? So the people at work, the people that I connect with, the people who are closest to me are often the people that I don't even think about asking them if they'd like to work with me.
Mhm.
And so when I say that, who comes up for you in terms of somebody that you can connect with and either work with, or you could just do some practice sessions with, or you could just have some conversations with, that are in related to whatever it is that you do for your business. Oftentimes, like we just said, oftentimes they're right in front of your face. And they would have absolutely said yes, and you'd be able to change their life forever by having them become a part of your business, or coaching them, or selling them a program or product. But because they're so close, we're either blind to it or we're a little nervous to ask them. But if they're your friends, if they're the people that you deeply care about and respect, why wouldn't you want them to be able to have results too, right? So this is all about networking and asking yourself questions to think about your situation differently so that you can realize that you can actually create some really great connections. You can even create affiliate connections there, right? Where you're hey, if you offer, if once I, exit, sometimes there's rules, by the way, but what you can and can't sell in the company, because I know for me, for LAPD, I couldn't sell specifically to people. They would have to come to me and ask me for it. And if that was the case, then I could actually sell something, but I couldn't go into a presentation that LAPD was paying for and then sell them on something that I'm doing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. But if I gave a great presentation, they would come to me and ask me, and then I could 100% do that. Yeah. So there's some intricacies there, but it's all about asking yourself, how could I use this networking as a positive rather than, I just got to go to work today, but instead reframing that to something else. Yep. Okay. Number 3. Ready?
Okay. 3 is financial stability. So, sometimes we don't think that we can actually, have a leg up on our exit strategy when it comes to our business. So what I mean is when you're working full time and there's kind of the, steady income coming in, think about what you can do with kind of maybe some extra money or something that you can then use as kind of a safety net when you leave that job to, go full time, or even drop down your hours on your full-time job so you can focus on your business. So here's a question that you can ask yourself. How can the steady income from your job provide a safety net while you build your business? So how can the steady income from your job provide a safety net while you build your business. Sorry, I can't even say build your business. Blah, blah, blah.
And the second one is, what percentage of your salary can you allocate towards funding your business without affecting your personal finances? So that's kind of what Teresa was saying before.
Yeah.
So the first part is like realizing that your career is something that's actually being able to fund your business, gives you a different reframe about your career. So you don't feel like the negative energy going there. You're like, oh, this is actually really awesome that I get to fund this. Because can you imagine I didn't have this? And then all of a sudden I had to figure out like how to make, $100,000 this year from scratch. That's called pressure, my friends. And a lot of people don't understand that they don't respond well to that kind of pressure, right? But the second thing is, what percentage of your salary can you allocate towards funding your business? So we don't talk about this a lot, but I'm going to talk about it with you guys. In the beginning, how many years did our career fund our business? So it probably 7 or 8 years, 7 to 8 years, we didn't make any money from our business. Did you hear me? 7 or 8 years, we made zero money from our business. We would take the money and we put it back into ourselves. We take our money and we buy a course. We take our money, we buy some one-on-one coaching. We take our money, we learn some new skills. Personal development. We would go to trainings. We went through Marketing Impact Academy, like so many different things. For 7 or 8 years, we made zero. Actually, I don't think we made zero. I think we made negative. So if we were to look at the numbers, we were negative. But guess where we've been for the last 3 or 4 years? Quite positive, because we were willing to put in the time and energy to be able to put all of our money that we could from our business and anything extra from our career and our job into our business, really into ourselves, to be able to develop into the type of people who could give you guys these kind of trainings, who could do coaching sessions, who could create a life coach certification. All those things wouldn't have been possible without learning all of those skills.
Yeah. And we're not saying that that's how it has to go for you guys, but I think that really early on, even though we didn't even know about the Be Do Have, we were already doing it. So a lot of that income actually went back to developing ourselves and personal growth.
100%. So think about what is like we asked here, what is a percentage of your salary can you allocate towards funding your business without affecting your personal finances? So being able to develop your skills by funding it from your job is literally what we were able to do. Now, like Teresa said, it may not take you 7 or 8 years. Maybe you're not like me and try to do everything on your own. And maybe you do ask for help really quickly, which I didn't used to do a lot. And then after that, 7 or 8 years, I did start to ask for help. And that's what sped up the process for me. But I also wanted to continue to invest. And we still do continue to invest a lot of money in our growth, because we want to keep growing. We want to keep taking it to the next level. And how would you be able to do that if you didn't have your job? I mean, you would have to just say, okay, let me just work my business, right? Let me just work my brick and mortar or work my online business, but then you wouldn't be able to develop skills. We see that a lot, or I see that a lot. I'm going to call out to it too. And this might like rub some of you guys the wrong way, but I want to call out to it because it might be an awareness factor that you need to be more aware of. Just doing more and just having your business open for longer will not make you more money. It won't. You have to increase the value that you bring to the marketplace. And how you increase the value that you bring is you increase the growth that you have internally. So it is directly related to the growth of your business. I've heard this a lot. Hey, once I get through this thing, like now I'm just going to really take off. And I'm like, well, there's going to be something else for you to do next. And that's how life and growth works. If you're programmed in here, I'm going to do this one thing. And then once I'm done, I'm just going to keep working. You're not going to ever grow to where you need to grow, because this is a continual process. This isn't let me just do this one thing and then I'll be good, right? And so I really want to call out to that, because a lot of you guys will go back into that, because that's what our head voice does. That's what my head voice does. It goes, Mark, you just went through 67 different programs. You just went through this YouTube training. You just went through this. Like, you don't need to go through anymore. You just need to keep showing up. That does not work. It just gets me to be wherever I'm currently at, and it doesn't get me to level up and continue to help more people and make more impact. So I'm constantly thinking about that. Like, thank you, brain, for trying to convince me to do that. But also, instead, I'm going to think of a different way of doing this, because in reality, as I continue to grow and grow more myself, I can bring more value to the marketplace. When I bring more value to the marketplace pays me for that value, so I can help more people and be able to, make ends meet for my family, go on vacations, do all this kind of stuff, right? So I really want you to challenge yourself when it comes to that, thinking, oh, like I'm good where I'm at right now, and then I'm just going to work really hard, and then once I get the money, then I'm going to be able to do this next thing. Really check in with yourself, because that can be a limiting belief that actually prevents you from leaning into it. Sorry, I had to go down that tangent, but I see so many people do that. And when people ask me, Mark, how is it that you left your full-time job? Teresa left her full-time jobs, and now you're able to do this kind of stuff. It's because I was not willing to settle wherever I was. I was always thinking about like how I continue to increase my value, learn more, like consume more, but then also take more action and not just be, fine with wherever I'm at. There's this a very important part about staying out of your comfort zone, especially when it comes to growing. All right.
Okay, so number 4 is time management. So when you think about your full-time job, your career, and you probably have to be there at a specific time, you have structure, there's intentionality, you have lists and things like that, we can bring that into our business. I had the reality check when I left my full-time job and came home, and I didn't realize that I really needed to structure my day just like I did when I had a full-time job, because that feeling of not knowing what to do and not having a plan just threw me off so much. And I had to incorporate now, like just, being home and doing housework along with that. So it really complicated things. So I really learned early on that I really needed to focus on my time management, even when I was, working from home. But I could have kind of implemented that, and knowing that I had this full-time job and there was structure and time management involved in this, and I could bring it onto my my new, full-time job. So here's a question for you guys. So what strategies can you use to effectively manage your time between your job and your business? So what strategies can you use to effectively manage your time between your job and your business?
Yeah. And this is also like Teresa was saying, is thinking about what it's like when you have that structure in place. And then thinking about how can I use that structure at home and also with my family, right? So one of the things that comes up for me is like, example, LAPD, you have to be here at this time. This is when roll call starts, not when you feel like it. It starts right here. And this is where you have to be when this happens. And this is what you have to be. And this is the schedule for this. And this is like, it wasn't, hey, you know what? Sometime during the day, just take a break, get to spend more time with your family and all this kind of stuff and scroll the news feed. Like they'd be like, hey, get your butt over there. Somebody's getting attacked or something like that. And so when we have that same tenacity of like being able to take our schedule and like laser focus it at work, we just say, how do we do that at home? Right? How do we block it with boundaries? How do we have, our family time or our video game time, for me, like to block that out, because it's like really important to use those same strategies that work at home. And like you said, also when I came home full time, the same thing is like, there was a lot of things that like I realized that I needed to continue to do at home. But it was after a little bit of pain of realizing like, oh, hey, I need to make some adjustments to this. And it's because when you have that time, it disappears unless you tell it where to go, right? Which is kind of like what your schedule is, just like how your budget is too. So we're gonna have the other 2 questions too.
Yeah. So another question is, how can you utilize your job's downtime or breaks to work on your business task? So obviously this is if this is allowed, right? But I did it when I was working full time. If I had a break, I, would do kind of like minimal tasks that I needed to do for my business that I wouldn't be able to do at home, or I didn't want to do at home because when I got home, I was tired. I had to take care of the kids and stuff like that. So how can you utilize your job's downtime or breaks to work on your business task? And the next question is, how will you navigate your time management with
How will navigating your time management?
Sorry, can't read. I'm so tired. How will navigating your time management? See, that's not right.
Create more opportunities.
Create more opportunities for you to help people through this in the future. Okay, help me with this because my brain scrambles.
So for this one is while you're going through the time management that you have going on at work and in your business and with your family, all this kind of stuff, it actually sets you up to be able to help so many more people go through that too. So one of the things that I would think about is, okay, right now I'm working full time, 12 hours a day. I have my business, and then I still make time for my family. How can I right now document everything that I'm going through and what's working and what's not working, so that once I get finished this, actually in the moment I could still do this, but once I get finished this, I can remind myself of what it was like to be in there and what I needed to do in order to be able to make myself have success in those areas, despite all of that craziness. Right. And so sometimes when we're going through this time management piece, we're like, there's so many different things going on. It's actually really great at business opportunity, because when we are able to navigate it, now how many more people are going to be like, how did you do that? Right. When people find out that, like, I had 13 days in a row that I had to be in downtown Los Angeles for a riot, but I still finished the 75 hard. I still had family time, and I still took care of my health, and I still didn't eat terrible things. And he's like, how did you do that? Right. And so being able to like go through that process and then also document it in that moment helped me to bring all of those things to people, so that when I do have conversations and people do need my help, I can give them that feedback about what it was like. So there's so much to learn in that process by really being able to think about, like, how does you going through this right now, when it comes to your time management, what kind of opportunities is going to present in the future, so that you can communicate to people in a way who have a limiting belief of like, I just don't have the time. How can you actually show them right now that they can have the time, they can find the time, and you do it yourself. And then that way you can help them too. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Next two, we're going to go over quick. Number 5 is market research. Your job can be your market research. Here's what I mean. There are some people that are at your work that would be great for you to have a conversation with, for you to talk to, for you to figure out what problems they're kind of experiencing, how you could help them solve those problems. And because you have access to them, especially people who are up in higher parts of the organization, if you do have an organization that's ranked like that, that you can actually do some really good market research. You can actually talk to whoever it is that you're working with and ask them questions that will help you bring that information back into your business and implement it. But you can also, if you have like a sales job, you can actually, through the process of like talking to humans, think about some of the things they're struggling with, and then bring that into your business. And then you can even like use that as like different marketing tactics to talk about, right? Because there's so many opportunities that we have in our career, whether it's like, we were talking about networking earlier, but just having conversations and doing research in terms of like what people want, what they don't want, what they're struggling with, that you can bring that information and actually deliver it in your business. So here's the question for this. What opportunities do you have at work to test your business ideas or gather feedback? So what opportunities do you have at work to test your business ideas or gather feedback? One of the things I talk about with our life coaches is, as they're going through the process, they have to do 6 practice sessions. And like a lot of times they don't think about this, but the people that they work with are the people who are the easiest to be able to like actually get them to help you, so you can go through these practice sessions. You're not doing it like you're selling them something, but you're like, hey, I'm going through this life and performance coaching. I'd really love it if you could help me by doing some practice. So maybe you can jump on a call with me real quick, and I'll take you through this process called the push method. And then it's just something that I do have to record, but I'd love it if you could help me out here. So many times you already are connected to so many people who'd be willing to help, but you just are uncomfortable asking, or you don't even just realize that they're there. And so when you think about this, when you think about like doing market research, it can even just be like talking to the people that you're closest with there and getting them to help you in that situation, right? Or answer some questions for you. It's really cool because you have extra people that I don't want to say they're forced to be around you, but they kind of are, because they're at work too, and being able to think about it a little differently, instead of like, oh, I got to go into work, going, oh, this is an opportunity for me to test this theory on them, right? And ask them, what would they like? If I were to create some type of program for police officers looking to get into better shape, what would be some things you'd want to learn? What are some things you're struggling with right now? What are some results that you'd like to have? Those are 3 really powerful questions that I wouldn't have access to asking people if I wasn't actually working as a police officer, right? So bringing that in is a great way to be able to do market research, and you're kind of doing it on their dime because you're doing it there while you're working full time, right? All right. Number 6, resource utilization. Resource utilization. And I'm going to ask these questions because the questions will kind of like share what it is that I'm talking about. What resources available at your job can you use to support your business without feeling like you're taking from your job? So what are some resources available at your job that you can use to support your business without feeling like you're taking from your job? One of these examples for me was giving training to people who are there. So after the first time that somebody saw me on YouTube, they realized that I had like this huge, channel and podcasts and all this kind of stuff. And I would not do any of that training inside the organization. And so what I decided to do is I reached out to, what I told you already, Ronna Parker, and I said, hey, like I do these YouTube videos and trainings and workshops. Like I would really love it. Like if you guys had any free like workshops or something you have coming up where I could step in and do some free training for them. And she was like, absolutely. Actually, I was looking for somebody like you. And so while I was working there, she was utilizing me so many different times, but it gave me a lot of things. Number one, it gave me practice, but it also gave me credibility, because now I can talk about like, hey guys, guess what? I just taught, 10,000 LAPD officers about nutrition or about fitness or about coaching or about leadership or about, now it's something that I actually can bring back, right? So thinking about your resources that you have access to while you're at work that you won't have access to if you don't work there anymore, and how you can really utilize them. The next one is how can you make the most of your job's benefits, like health insurance, retirement plans, all that stuff, to reduce personal expenses and invest more in your business. So how can you make the most of your job's benefits to reduce personal expenses and invest more in your business? So one of the things that you'll realize when you become a full-time business owner is it's so awesome until you have to pay for insurance, until you have to pay for medical and dental and vision. And then you have somebody who needs vision every
Vision
6
and
months.
dental.
Yeah.
Expensive dental.
And those things come out of your pocket. It's not as easy as when you work a job and the job actually, gives you the opportunity of using that, right? So really just thinking about in terms of that's a great benefit, so that you can actually continue to build your side hustle or build your business without having to do that. And once you disconnect, that'll be something that you have to talk about. We actually did a video about that. I think it's like the 10 things you absolutely need to know before you leave your job. That was one of them. But being able to think about like the resources that you have access to right now and how it actually benefits you while you're building your business is a total reframe. So that way you can think about your career in a more positive light than a negative light. All right. Yeah. Number 7.
Okay. So number 7 is learning from challenges. So wouldn't it be better to actually learn like what could go wrong in something and then actually find the solution, in your job rather than in your business? So, right up off the top of my head, I'm thinking like, what if, let's say you're a coach and you have a client and you have a contract, and that client breaches the contract or something like that. Sometimes in our full-time job, like we come across those challenges, and how does the company handle it? Or how would you handle it if you were in that position? So learning from those challenges, you can actually bring it over to your business. So one of the questions is, what challenges have you faced in your job that have prepared you for potential obstacles in your business? And then I'll give you the second one as well. How can you actually apply problem-solving techniques from your job to your business?
So can I share a couple as you're kind of like having that conversation? So one of the things is being a police officer. You have to kind of sometimes get people to do things that they don't want to do, like go to jail.
What? Nobody wants to go to jail.
I hated giving tickets, but sometimes you have to give somebody a ticket. You have to do things, and you have to sell things in a way that is not a aggressive, like, let's get into a fight over this thing, right? And so one of the things that actually going through challenges like that does is it gives you the great opportunity of learning how to communicate with humans and be the lowest heartbeat in the room. Because when everybody's like voices are getting louder and you go to a domestic violence or something like that, where it's like literally everybody's emotions is on the next level, and you can be cool, calm, and collected, and you can leave there knowing that you were the best version of yourself. And that a lot of times those people would like call my supervisor and tell them how great I was, even though I had to take somebody into custody. It's like those opportunities, if I had not been subjected to those, I would not know what to do when somebody, hates on us, right? Because when you start to make an impact online, you are going to have haters. It's just going to happen. There's always going to be people on the opposite side of the spectrum that don't believe what you believe. They don't like you. They don't like your face. For me, it's my forehead, my mile-long forehead. Like people will come out just all of a sudden in my shorts, like, and just like share something like that. And I wouldn't know how to deal with that if I didn't have people on the line come up to me while I'm, at a riot and cussing me out and saying things about my mom that they said, it's like there's so many things that has actually taught me to be able to not react to that. Like, I'm like, oh, this is actually easy compared to that. Right. And especially like decision making. So I had to make a lot of decisions that sometimes could be life or death. So making a decision in business does not feel that scary anymore. But like, when it comes to that, like you realize that being able to do that actually helps you in this other area. And so you, like we said, like it's not a negative experience anymore. Now it's like, oh, wow, thankfully I went through this on LAPD's dime And I had to go through that, like processing and figuring it out. But
Yeah.
now I get to actually use it at home.
Yeah.
Right.
It's developing resilience too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. And thinking about that related to your job and how that actually prepares you for your resilience in business, because build business, you are going to get knocked down a few dozen times. And your job is to just keep getting up and thinking of different things. Don't just keep forcing the same thing, but think of a different way of doing it. All right, number 8. And we talked about this a little bit, but number 8 is building credibility. Building credibility. So a lot of people can't wait to leave their job. Only when they leave their job and they don't have an opportunity to like actually bring some of that credibility with them, they lose out on a valuable opportunity that even just working at that job can develop in you. And that is like having the credibility that you're there, that you've learned those things, that you're a part of a supervisor team, that you were impacting people's lives, that you were getting the opportunity to speak in front of people, that you were teaching and training. And it's kind of like, it kind of feels like for a lot of people that I see is like, you forget everything that you've ever done. And now you're just in business. You're like, I don't know what to do. Right. And you just forget all those things, those skills, those opportunities that you have. But in reality, while you're there, you can still build some credibility. You can ask yourself, like, what opportunities do I have here to be a supervisor, to actually maybe give a workshop, to give a teaching, a training, right? Think about what it would be like if you were a supervisor, right? And one of your employees came up to you and went, hey, you know what? I noticed that we're struggling with this kind of like problem that we have here, and I have the solution. What I would love to do is I would actually love to give a free training that I can talk about because I'm a life and performance coach, or I'm whatever it is that you are, right? And I've gone through this situation. I really feel like I can actually help these people to see things a little bit differently. I would just need to go ahead from you to be able to put it all together. Think about it as a supervisor. I don't know about you guys, but like, hell yeah, like where do I sign up for that? Like, yes, absolutely do that. And now think of what happens even within your career. Now you become seen as the leader, right? But you also develop skills. And now you go back to your platform and you're like, hey guys, I just gave a training to 7,000 LAPD sergeants or officers about like how they can actually lead their probationary officers while they're on duty. And now you're like, you have all of this credibility because of what you've been able to do because of your career. Because being in your career sometimes gives you influence that you wouldn't have in the normal world, right? And being able to grab onto that and go, I'm going to bring this with me is so important, especially right now while you're there. Don't wait until after you leave, but right now, think about these 8 things and how you can leverage them. All right. So 2 questions for this is, how can your job title and experience enhance your credibility when pitching your business to investors or customers? So how can the fact that you've gone through that actually help you when you're having conversations with customers? Now, I don't say this all the time, but if I get on with somebody who has been in the military or has been in law enforcement, you better believe I'm going to talk about 20 years in LAPD and being a sergeant for for 9 years, right? I'm going to talk about that because it gives me a certain level of credibility that I experienced. I went through it, right? Same as Teresa, being able to work as the administrator at a hospital gives her a lot of experience. And sometimes it can kind of feel like we're bragging and we're not, because we've actually done it. Bragging is kind of like bragging about like some of the things that maybe you like an interpretation of it. But when you're like, no, I was in this role for 20 years. That's not bragging. That's literally you're telling people what you've been able to do. And it gives you a certain level of credibility to be able to make a decision if they're going to move forward with you or not. The second one is, what professional achievements can you highlight to build trust and authority in your business niche? So what professional achievements can you highlight to build trust and authority in your niche? I remember I would get like plaques for like supervisor of the quarter and like the highest producer and stuff like that. And I wasn't good at sharing that, but I feel like that would be a really great ability of like showing people your character, showing people that you're a high performer, showing people that you're like the kind of person who they want to, most of the new LAPD officers wanted to be like, they want to be that person who's recognized, right? And looking at that now, even like some awards and some things that you've gotten actually helps you when it comes to the credibility of whether or not people decide to work with you in business, to buy your program or buy your product, right? It's kind of the reasons why we also have testimonials, right? We ask people like, hey, where were you at before you had this program or product? Where are you at now? What kind of things that have you learned from it? Like what transformation have you had? It's also the ability of like getting other people to hear that, because, you know, coming from you is awesome, but coming from someone else is even more awesomer. Being able to do that. That's why, like, when it comes to building credibility, like being able to ask for testimonials is so important. Plus the person who's giving it to you always feels great about that. So here's the thing. Which one of these 8 will you guys be focusing on this week? I'm going to go through them again real quick. Number 1 is skill development. Number 2 is networking opportunities. Number 3 is financial stability. Number 4 is time management. Kurt's on fire today. Number 5, market research. Number 6, resource utilization. Number 7, learning from challenges. And number 8, building credibility. So based on today's training, what are you committed to seeing differently this next week? Like, what is your greatest opportunity? Maybe when you go to work, sometimes it feels like we said in the beginning, like it's pulling from you. Well, when you see what you do for work as an opportunity, you will go out there and find it, and you will grow into the person who has even more of a successful business, make even more impact, because you're not like putting the blinders on to all of the things you're learning, experiencing, the people you're networking with while you're at your job. It's not just a place to go to and punch in, punch out, and then come home and work your business. It actually has a great synergy that when you do go all in your career and you show up and you have the mindset of like, this is actually going to help me in business, that you will actually manifest that too. You will be able to bring it back. Now, I want to be able to pull a card this week. One thing that we are going to do is, number 1 is I do want you guys to comment here. I will also post inside of our app for the people who are in the inner circle. I want to hear from you which one of these you're going to be focusing on this next week. And of course, you can always come back and listen to all the other ones and just go through it. I just feel that like more than 1 or 2 max, it's too much to focus on at one time, and it can feel really overwhelming. So think about which one, maybe 2. I'm going to try and push you to just 1. Which area are you going to focus on the most? And I want to hear inside of the chat here. So type it in the chat. And for those of you guys in the inner circle, I will also post it up, but I want to hear it here because accountability is a really important piece. It's the reason why we have our inner circle, because when you put it out to the world, what you're going to focus on, I want you to see how you show up when you do that. You will show up on a different level. If it's in your brain and it doesn't make it out here, you will not show up on the same level. I guarantee it. Just test it out. All right. It's very easy to be stuck in here and then not put it out. And then you'll realize that you won't show up the way that you want to. But I know you're here because you want to lead. You want to be more effective. You want to help more people. And by doing that, it causes us or gives us the opportunity of being able to lead ourselves and put it out there to the world. So we'd love to hear from you below. Now, next week, we have a call just for our inner circle members. We're going to be doing a very specific Q&A. It's going to be about overcoming challenges. So maybe once a quarter, we get on and we do a call specific for people who are in the inner circle. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute, where we get to answer your personal challenges that you're going through related to your business, related to your career, related to your health, and related to your family. So if you have something very specific that you would like us to tackle and you're a part of the inner circle, join us next Saturday at this same time. And they will have access into the live call where we're actually going to be able to help you guys here personally while we are live. If you're not a part of the inner circle, definitely encourage you to do that. It's like $10 a month. You basically get two live calls with us right here, specifically for the inner circle. People who want to build a business they love, connect deeper with their family, and make sure that their physical and mental health is on point. That's what we do every other week for the inner circle. And then we have the in-between workshops where we invite everybody. But if you're looking for a group of family-driven entrepreneurs, a tribe of people who are wanting to get better, reading books, doing all the things we talked about here today, even when I'm talking about like the people who are willing to like invest and continue to level up, that's what we do inside of the inner circle. We're constantly reading books, elevating ourselves, sharing what's working, sharing what's not working, and then of course, jumping on and answering questions. So if that's you, you're already there. You're already wanting to continue to get better. And we just want to say how thankful we are to have you guys inside of the inner circle. If you're not a part of that, you can click the join button from our Modern Leadership YouTube channel. It'll share with you like how to join. It's actually on YouTube, and it'll give you access into our free app. Okay, that was a lot. So you want to read the question? So for anybody who's new to the channel, at the end of every single live stream, we ask a question that you can ask your family at the dinner table, because we want you to be prepared for when dinner comes so you can have a really great conversation, just like the conversation we had today. And the question is?
So the question is, what have you changed your mind about over the years? What have you changed your mind about over the years?
Yeah, I think even for kids, like just asking them like, what is something that maybe you changed your mind about recently, that has that you'd like to share with us? because a lot of times, and this is a really good teachable lesson when you ask this question, a lot of times people think that when they make a decision, they have to keep that decision forever. And giving them the opportunity of you even sharing a time when you made a decision or you saw things in one way, but then you totally reframed it, now gives them the ability of going, oh, so maybe I can think of things a little bit differently. Another one of those opportunities where when we see ourselves modeling that behavior, it gives them the ability of being able to see it differently. I'm going to give you an example. So for me, if I was answering this question, what I would say is like early on, and not even early on, like for a lot of my life, I was the believer that I can figure it out on my own, that I'll just read all the books myself. I'll do all the things myself and I can just figure it out. And it was kind of one of these protection mechanisms because I didn't want to get too uncomfortable to be in front of other people and to tell them that I didn't know what to do. And so it prevented me from actually growing as fast as I wanted to. When I say it took me 7 or 8 years, that's because it was 7, 8 years of Mark trying to convince himself that he can do it by himself. And I was sitting in the background and I would like buy a program, but I would never participate. I would never be in the chat like you guys are. I would never be in the app like responding. I would buy something and just sit in the back and think of that I can just consume. And it was the same as actually acting. Really, really big thing on me, which is probably why I went down that rant a little bit earlier, because I don't want you to be the old Mark. I don't want you to spend 7 or 8 years trudging through business and then thinking about why is this not working for me? And it's because for me, it was trying to figure it out all on my own. Oh, I could just do a Google search. I can just figure it out. Not realizing that being able to like find a mentor, find somebody who is at a step above, participate, accountability, share when somebody says to share in the comments. Like those things are said because they actually do work. And when I leaned into that, it got me to show up the way that I wanted to. And then I just was so much more hungry. I was like, oh, how could I do this as a parent? How can I do this as a husband? How can I do this as a business owner? How can I do this as a sergeant? And all of those totality of things have built me up to who I am today, right? Which is why some people are like, man, how do you know all these things? I'm like, because I screwed them all up for such a long time that I had to figure them out, right? And the part of the process that sped it up for me is when I started to reach out and have those kind of connections with people. Yeah. Now, that being said, me sharing that with my kids is going to be a powerful thing. And I'm probably going to do it today because I want them to see, number one, learn the lesson of not trying to figure it all out on your own and sit in the back of the room and sign up for things and never participate. But also number two, because we can change the way we are. We can think of something different. We can become somebody different as long as we're willing to like try different things, right? Like they say, if you want something different, you have to do something different, which is what Jim Rohn said, man. That's so on point. Always on point. All right, guys, we appreciate you for leaning in. Definitely cannot wait to hear how you use your job as your superpower to be able to leave whether you decide to leave your full-time job or actually just help you build your business even faster, regardless. Cannot wait to see what this does for you. Appreciate you for making it all the way here to the end. Thank you for what you do out there every single day. We look forward to seeing you guys next Saturday on the Inner Circle call. You guys have a great weekend and keep leading for the front. Bye, everybody.
Bye.